What's going on, guys? Avatarmanz here, and I'm doing a replay analysis for you guys. I'm doing this for my friend Vaske, who is Diamond 3 to Champ 1 rank, and he's playing a Ranked 3s match solo. So after this, I'm going to go through and show you guys one of my 3s gameplay, replays, so that you can see the difference between like something like a Champ 1 and like a Champ 3 or GC game. So let's get into it. So here, grabbing the boost pad and kind of coming up is actually not a bad idea here. However, if your opponent was really good, it's actually a decent spot to kind of creep up here to see what he does. Ideally, either he's going to bang this over your head, or he's going to take this and kind of dribble it slowly, or he's going to go up the wall, one of the three. So in this scenario, he actually hits it very softly for whatever reason, and he kind of decides to follow it. The best scenario to do here is to drive up the wall and tank a bounce shot. So the second this bounces, you can actually fire this without even using a whole lot of boost. You can fire one straight into the net if you're good enough. Otherwise, what you can do is take the bounce shot and then fire it off the backboard for your teammate. Or you can take the bounce shot, go to the corner, or take the bounce shot and fire it center for your pass. You get the idea. So going and taking the bounce shot is actually the best idea. Even though your opponent is actually going up the wall with you, it's actually not a bad idea to drive up the wall either way to kind of still apply pressure. So you don't always need to tackle the ball. All you got to do is kind of go at the ball and then turn around. That's a really good way to apply pressure. And you'll see that here. After you hit the ball, you don't get the best touch, but driving up and applying pressure is a really good idea. But you don't need to drive all the way up the wall, because now you just wasted more boost dropping back. Whereas if you drove to the corner, if you drove to this corner here and then turned around and dropped back, you would be already back quicker and you'd have a lot more boost. So dropping back in the midfield is actually a really good idea, because then that allows your teammates to kind of come up on the right side. The only thing I have to say about this is that you didn't even know what was happening until you basically grabbed the boost pad here. So maybe the second you get that line on the boost pad, maybe try to turn on ball cam a little sooner. And you'll notice that you want to try to keep a triangle rotation in offense. So the second you grab that boost pad, you should be kind of driving up on the left side here. Since both of your teammates are kind of in a line right here, you should be driving up here, so that way you guys can form a triangle. Obviously, Love is a lot more pushed up, but you get the idea. So in case Love cuts rotation here, which is actually fine since you're so far back, as long as you're pushing up here and then are able to cut center, it kind of covers the entire triangle here now that Duck is pushed up. So it kind of covers this entire half of the field, which is why you want to maintain a triangle position. The second that ball was missed, it was fine to go for it. Obviously, it's not a good idea to double commit. Duck wanted to push up on this for whatever reason, so I don't blame you for going for that. But it was nice of you to not actually go full ham and full boost for it. This entire time, you should actually be dropping back directly more towards this boost pad. That way you can turn and meet the ball up the wall, because this is going to be coming along the wall here. So if you grab this boost pad, you can actually meet it right here and then drive up the wall with the ball. So you'll see what I mean here. Instead, because you drove so far towards like your back wall, you have to turn into the ball now to get a decent challenge. And because of that, you panicked and used a lot of boost and whiffed the ball. The second the ball was above your head, you didn't know where your teammate was. This was actually not a good ball to go for. I'll show you guys what that looks like here, because this was actually your teammate's ball to go for. So he rotated perfectly. Notice how your teammate rotated in the back post and then drives alongside the goal line here. This is actually a perfect rotation, what your teammate should be doing here. So he turns. He should be jumping right here. That way he can jump up, meet the ball, and then smack dab it that way. However, that doesn't really happen. So you should actually be dropping back either near post. In this case, the ball is in the air, so you can actually drop back across the net. That's fine, since he should be jumping up. So this is actually not a good ball to go for. This is a decent aerial to go for. You didn't do a whole lot with it, and you didn't need to go for it. Notice how much space there is. You don't see another blue guy until you see Mogan down there way on his side, so you could have caught this if you wanted to. Not a bad aerial. However, again, since the ball is on top of your car, you have no idea where your teammate is. So in this case, now because you double committed, if these guys were really good, they would fire this directly into your net because you double committed, and then Love had to kind of come in when he thought he was comfortable. Let's watch this from your teammate's perspective, because Duck actually came in at a good time. So you committed here. He's actually perfectly fine to come up and try to go for this bounce shot. Notice what I said about earlier in that the very first challenge, how it's always better to come up and hit the ball after the bounce like this. That was kind of perfect. He didn't do a whole lot with it, but the idea was, he had the right idea. Now, because you're drop back and your opponent stole your boost, you have nothing to go off of here. So the best thing to do is to either catch this ball right here, back up or break, or to go for the clear off the backboard. So if you had actually just kept driving and drive up the wall, you can actually meet this ball, because this ball is going to bounce and bounce right here. So you can take this bounce shot. And again, notice how I keep talking about bounce shots. It's so important. Even if you have 0 boost, you can clear the hell out of this ball. And instead, because it looks like you're dropping back, now your teammate has to go for it with very low boost. And then Love, because your teammate missed it, he has to kind of come in. So it's kind of just a mess all around. It's not a bad thing to jump here, though, by the way, since you didn't know if Zenio had a shot or not. Okay, so this whole scenario, so now that you have boost here, notice how you are still in line with your teammate here. This should not happen. You should be driving along this side, maybe even to the middle boost pad. That way, if they take this up the wall, you can meet it. But either way, you should be driving more towards mid behind Duck to keep a triangle rotation with one guy center, and then Duck either is able to kind of cut back in, or, it's a better plan to drive this way. That way Duck can rotate out, and then Love can kind of come in behind you, and you guys can maintain that circle, here. Maintain that good rotation. Because you didn't do that, Duck may be looking at the ball. If he doesn't have ball cam on here, let me see here. He doesn't know where you're at, and neither does Love, because you're not in a very good position. So it would have been much better to take that ball earlier. Not a bad challenge. This is a decent position to be in. You notice that Duck is actually still going for the clear. So not a bad idea to stay forward like that. And fortunately, your teammate scored. I noticed how you didn't flip at all until you got to the ball. We call that a bot kickoff. So go ahead and watch my kickoff tutorial if you guys haven't seen that. It's not obviously a huge deal since this is a lower rank, but at higher ranks, that kickoff will be destroyed more often than not. So go watch my kickoff tutorial and learn how to flip twice on kickoffs. It's a lot more efficient and lets you hit the ball a lot faster. So here, this is kind of the fault of your teammate, and this is what I was talking about earlier, is this sort of triangle position. So your teammate should have been pushing up basically right here earlier, kind of behind Love. That way you can kind of push up mid if need be, since Love is pushing up on this. So if your teammate was right here, he would be pushing up in case Love lost the challenge. Otherwise, if Love won the challenge, then you could push up and meet the ball and try to score it. So since your teammate did not push up, you don't know where he's at. So again, this is kind of the importance of getting a better position quicker. So now you guys basically just double committed. Notice how Love is behind Duck. You are the middleman now. So as long as these two are right here, this is actually a good position to be in now because, again, you guys have this triangle defense or triangle offense. So this is actually a good position to be in. So even though you kind of stayed here for a long time, this is actually not that bad. And you're dropping back with the ball. I like that. I like how you're not using a whole lot of boost here when you don't need to. You notice that if you can't hit the ball, you don't waste a whole lot of boost. Nice job on that. However, you didn't drop back. You kind of still stay with the ball. It's not the worst thing in the world, but you should have dropped back to net here. In this position, you should be basically, let me go to hard attach. That way, you should be basically, oops. You should be dropping back this way. That way, your teammate, hopefully, I don't even know where he is. He should be, whoa, I don't know what I'm doing here. Sorry, guys. Let me just go to player view. Basically, your teammate should be coming in from the corner and pushing this, is the idea. I'm not exactly sure what Love was doing there. No, I like how you stay with the play here with Duck without pushing up until you need to. Nice job. Not a whole lot I can say about that. You tried to score. You weren't able to get it, but your teammate should have ideally gotten that ball. Not the best challenge from him. Nice job on dropping back just as it was required. And again, a nice job here. Again, you should have taken this bounce shot to hit it center. Basically, you can drive up the wall, just keep going straight. And this ball is kind of coming up this way, so you can meet the ball roughly right here, not exactly sure where, but then clear it out mid or towards the net if you're really good. So again, taking bounce shots on the wall is really important, so try to learn how to read those. Because now imagine if you bounce this, both of your teammates are looking for you to hit the ball at some point. Because you didn't, Love has to come in, and because you didn't hit the ball, you should be dropping back. That way Duck can come in and Love can keep pushing up the ball. That way you guys can keep this circular rotation. So you staying pushed up like this, even though you didn't hit the ball, is not a good idea. If you hit the ball, you could stay in the play. But since you didn't, you should be dropping back. You didn't grab the boost pad over there. Not a huge deal. That was a big oof. You didn't grab that boost pad, and Love is kind of looking for you. It's not a bad thing, though, since you noticed that he pushed back, that you should be going for that. So not a bad idea. I like how you're still driving towards the net, waiting for something to happen here. Not a bad thing at all there. Notice how they're double committing. I like how you're staying back. It's a good way to challenge. As long as you're forward, still maintaining pressure. Not good that your teammates pushed up. Now that they're both on the opposite side, it's actually a good idea to go for this. However, the only thing I would have done different is actually flipping into it with a side flip. So if you had actually jumped here, jump, and then flip like barrel roll to the right, you would have actually hit this with the corner of your car down into here. Let me see if I can't get a better position of this. So because you front flipped, you're actually hitting this with the top of your car, with the top end of your car here, rather than with the front corner. Because of that, you're actually hitting it underneath the ball more. You're hitting it right here on the top of your car underneath the ball. So that's why it pops up and goes kind of off the wall and back out. Whereas if you jumped, kept your car like totally level, and you would have been able to hit that with the front end of your car, like basically right here, but on the other side. You would have been able to roll this up the wall and stolen their boost pad and then follow it center. So you could have done a lot more here. But because of that, you don't have boost and you don't have ball possession either. This is not a bad thing to go for per se, especially in this low rank if you know you can get that over the net. But it's also better to trust your teammates because now that you're with that ball, Love cannot challenge at all. I also want to point something out. So your teammate, Duck, he should be dropping back this way. So that way Love can push up this way. And even though you're taking the ball this way, it's actually still a decent rotation. That way if you lose the ball or something, or if Love wants to challenge, he can. Then that way he comes in this way and you kind of go over or this way. It's actually not a bad rotation. He should be going this way though, and then kind of cutting back where Love is. So nice job on taking it over the wall or over the goal. Not a good thing to go for here. The second this ball and this boost pad are available, you should be grabbing this boost pad and then turning up the wall to meet it. So if you had grabbed this boost pad, you could have met it with a bounce shot again, or you could have just taken it up the wall and around. But you didn't do either of those things. You gave up the ball and you have no boost. So this is actually not a bad play to go for. Even though Duck is pushed up, this is a really high chance that Love is going to clear this. So this is not a bad thing to stay up for. And you're kind of turning and boosting and ready for that next play. However, the second this is over your head, again, you don't know where your teammates are. So if you can't touch this ball, you should be dropping back. But you don't know where your teammates are. So you double commit with Duck. I'll watch this from his perspective. So Duck is watching to see if they're going to take a shot or not. Since they don't, he should be the one to take this ball. So a lot of the time when the ball is above your head, you don't know where your teammates are at. So it's a lot better to look around for your teammates or just drop back in that case, unless you know for certain where your teammates are at. So here, this is not a bad place to be in. However, since you know that Love is going to be making a challenge at some point here in this corner area, you should be dropping back at least to the midfield. You know, if anything, you should be dropping back this way and then cutting in, driving along the goal line. You should always be dropping back on the back post and coming in forwards. Unless you are the last one back, then it's okay to turn here if you need to. However, since Love has a challenge here in the corner, it's actually much better to challenge or to rotate back to the mid at least and then turn. That way you can keep your speed up and go for the ball when you need to. So imagine if you kept your speed here. So watch this. Imagine if you kept your speed, you would be able to take this ball right now. You'd be able to speed up this way, take the ball up the corner, and get a free clear that way already. Just based off of that speed difference alone. Because Duck sees you dropping back into net, he sees you in the net. So because he kept up his speed, he's confident that he can take the ball, whereas you could have taken the ball instead and had a much better hit there. He didn't really do a whole lot with it. But that's the difference that speed has. Not a bad idea to take that from your teammate, since he didn't really have a good touch. Staying with your teammate is good. So I'm actually going to... I didn't mean to back up there, sorry. This is either... One of two things are going to happen here. Either you should ideally, one, go for the aerial right here, or take the bounce shot here. But you did neither of those things, and you hit the ball just before it bounced, which killed it. So there's a lot of these times where you notice I said bounce shot. You could have, even if you had driven kind of more this way, if you had basically driven just a little bit more to the right, you would be in line with the goal. So you could just front flip into the ball on the bounce and take a shot. However, you didn't do any of those things, and you didn't take a shot. You didn't do anything, and you basically just gave away the ball. Nice job on dropping back over here. This is a good idea. Good way to wait on that. However, Duck should be the one to push up on one of those things there, because he was either going to go mid or kind of cut back, but he did neither of those things. So there's only so much you can really do. Fortunately, again, your teammates kind of won it there. Not calling kickoffs or just not following instructions, not a good thing. That's a nice push. I don't blame you for going for this, since you guys were up by 1 still. There you go, good challenge. I like that. Instead of, you could have dropped back and grabbed the boost pad. That was a better idea to go for the ball though. It's basically 1 second left. That is not a very good thing to go for. Obviously, if this is like a higher level gameplay, this would be cleared up, and that would basically be a shot every time. However, so Duck should be going for that, so it's not the best thing. You should be just dropping back or staying in the net and waiting for that ball to come to you, if anything. So in the future, mind you, if you are higher ranked, you should be staying back on that one, especially when your teammate was ahead of you. However, it is 0 seconds, and I don't blame you entirely. So anyways, let's watch one of my threes gameplays. Had a pretty decent passing play. I'm not going to annotate a whole lot of this. So with my friends, we always do left goes on kickoffs. So that's how I knew to drop back. In this first like minute, try to not pay attention to this. I basically just whiffed 2 things in a row and caused my teammate to get scored on. That's totally my fault though. But we come back. I made up for it. So again, notice how I'm staying with the ball, and I pushed up, kind of same as you. Remember that first challenge that you had was really good. I pushed up and stayed, but didn't know if I should go or not. So again, when I, in higher ranks, if I'm ahead of the ball or I'm pushed up and my teammate is too far back, you'll notice that I do this quite a bit. Is actually tapping it back to your teammate is not a bad idea. So my friend Sheep here is too far away, so my attempt to pass it to him, I didn't want to hit it too hard because he was coming up. But it's basically the idea of me keeping ball possession is a good idea. The second I realized I couldn't get that, I didn't use any more boost, and I just dropped back and stole their boost. Good challenge from my teammate. Notice how I'm still taking their boost. I'm not going for the ball anymore because there are 2 guys on it. However, I'm the most pushed up. I don't have any more options to do anything with this play, so the best option is to take the boost. Fortunately, they kind of hit each other, and we scored off of it. Amazing Champ 3 gameplay, right? A whiff by me, and then they double commit, or they bump each other. So here, notice how I go straight up the wall and I go basically vertical. That way, if my car is facing this way, when I jump and tilt back, I'm basically facing towards this way so I can hit the ball basically center or at the net. I knew I couldn't hit the ball at this point, so I basically I knew that he was going to be going for this ball, so I flipped across this way to block his shot coming this way. However, I went a little bit quicker. So that's kind of why I missed there. But the idea was to block his clear. Again, notice how I am staying away from this ball, so that way I'm rotating this way, so that way Glock can push up, and that way Sheep can push up. Sheep does not play all the time, so that's why he's a little slow to our threes rotation. You notice that he will be... Again, this is the second time that he is too far away from the play. He should be basically in midfield, basically, right now. But I am taking their boost pad on the way out. Didn't get to it, so I took the mid. I want to watch this from Glock's perspective. So this was not a bad thing. He knew that Sheep was too far back, so that's why he was kind of playing mid and the right side. Again, he doesn't see sheep. This is not the best thing to go for, but we both know that sheep is a little slow and that Glock and I want to hit the ball more, so we're a little bit more used to this, but I would not recommend doing this, you know, unless you know your teammates as well as we do. So that's not something that you should normally do. Again, notice how we're in this triangle formation, so sheep is pushed up. Either he can kind of push the ball this way so I can come up and steal it. Otherwise, if he drops back, Glock can push up this way. Since the ball is going this way towards the ball, it doesn't actually matter which way sheep goes. Since he'll have to either go across this way or back towards where Glock is. So Glock can push up, or if I push in and sheep drops back, Glock can go in this way. So that way we can still maintain our circular rotation here. Notice how I haven't really moved a whole lot, because that's because the ball didn't really move a whole lot there either. I didn't really want to push on anything because Glock wasted his position and sheep is dropping back right now. I don't know how much boost he has, and I know Glock is out of the play. I have a lot of boost, so I'm the last man back right now. So I have to be very careful about where I challenge. So since the ball is not moving very quickly at all, I'm basically just waiting for a good opportunity to come in and take the ball. So that's what happened here. In this split second, notice how I look where my teammate is at, so that way I know on how to center it. And in this split second, I do notice that, again, sheep has a habit of staying too far back. So I can see that he is basically midfield. So that's why. Notice how I took off ball cam. This is going to be very, very quick here. Very quick. I took off ball cam. I knew that I could steal their boost. There's one. And I also drove on the right-hand side of the ball. So that way, when I hit it, it's going to kill it back to him. So that way he comes up and clears it to me. I knew that he was so far back that if I turn up the wall here, that indicates that I want a pass. So I'll just watch this and I'll let you guys watch this glory because this was a pretty decent play. Pretty good all around, I'd say. Again, notice how we always keep this triangle formation. Notice how Glock is always center because sheep is always behind me in this scenario. So I'm always forward, so sheep is always back. So Glock is always center. We keep this triangle rotation at all times. And because I stayed forward, notice again how sheep turned back immediately. He's actually heading back, keeping this, again, in a good triangle the whole way through. I'll watch that from sheep's perspective so you can see. Really good play all around. So that was the end of the replay. They forfeited. That was just a casual match, but you guys can see the difference between the rotations, how we each have our own role, how we always maintain that triangle rotation, and we always know where each other are. Disregarding that first goal there on the orange side, I think overall we had pretty good ball control, and we maintained pressure the whole way. So thank you guys for watching. If you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns, feel free to leave a comment down below. Subscribe if you like my videos, and to get notifications on the new videos when I release them, make sure to hit that bell. Thanks for watching, guys. Avatarmanz signing out.